Can the Mountaineers finally turn this season around and get a big win over the Baylor Bears in Morgantown this week? Or will Baylor finally get their first win in Morgantown since West Virginia joined the Big 12? Well, I brought a special guest on to talk about it. So pull up a chair, sit back, relax, and let us serve you up this shot of top-shelf college football content. What is up, college sports fans, fellow members of Mountaineer Nation? This is Coos, and welcome into another edition of Coos' Corner. So pull that chair up and let me and my special guest serve you up this shot of content. And my special guest for this show is none other than Paul Catalina with 365 Sports. How you doing, Paul?
I'm doing great. Thanks for having me on.
Absolutely, man. And the chances of my viewers not knowing who you are slim to none. But in that case, if there might be one person out there who don't know who Paul Catalina is, will you please tell them where they can find you?
They can find us on 365 Sports. We have several different channels depending on what you're interested in. But for college football, it's just the main 365 Sports channel. We're on live 3 to 6 Central every day, so 4 to 7 Mountaineer time. We have a bunch of West Virginia fans that watch the show, which was like a very, very pleasant surprise to us when that started happening in last year. So, Country Roads, please like and subscribe to 365 Sports. We love you guys.
Yes.
So yeah, that's and you can follow me on Twitter. You can see it right there, right up like that spot right there. So you can follow me on Twitter. I am not a super active tweeter. I post a lot of content from the show and whatnot, but otherwise I kind of leave it to the rest of the world to do that. But you can follow me on Twitter and get a bunch of cool content from the show. So
awesome. Thank you, Paul, for that intro, man. So let's get right into it. First, I want to pull up the odds. I'm going to talk about the odds that have been set for this game, what Vegas is saying and what ESPN is saying. ESPN has Baylor as a 60.1% chance to win, West Virginia a 39.9% chance to win. No big surprise there. Vegas has Baylor at -3.5 right now, with the over/under being at 54.5. I was a little bit surprised that Baylor wasn't a heavier favorite in this game. What are your thoughts on the spread?
I'm not surprised they're not a heavier favorite. They've never won in Morgantown.
Yeah.
They didn't play well, particularly last week when they played against Oklahoma State. And, they had a really bad first half. They had a really, an almost really good second half, if not for, a couple of drops and turnovers. But, I'm not surprised at all. I mean, they've not won there. There's a reason they're not won there. It's a hard place to play, Coos. And Baylor historically, going back forever, has not been gangbusters on the road.
Right.
And so this is not a surprise. I mean, they should be favored roster-wise, coaching staff, depth-wise. Currently, they're better. But that doesn't always mean anything. Look at A&M and Alabama on Saturday night. Alabama's better in almost every metric. Injuries can be an equalizer, and penalties are an equalizer, and turnovers are an equalizer. The biggest thing that's switched, that was Jimbo Fisher made a really stupid play call.
Oh yeah.
When Nick Saban, I'm willing to bet you this. Nick Saban didn't say a word to the defense other than, read your keys, just got to make one play. And Jimbo Fisher went and looked at his play sheet and went, okay, what can I do? Oh, they call a timeout. Let's change things up. No. All he should have done is what's the best play I have from the 2-yard line for Devin A-Chain against this defense and run that play.
Yep.
He did the absolute opposite of that. So, Again, there's equalizers. Baylor's not great on the road, and it's because of that crowd and just the way that things are. So I'm not surprised. They've got some growing to do.
I got you. Speaking of, you mentioned injuries. Are there any significant injuries on the Baylor side of things that Mountaineer fans need to be aware of?
Tay McWilliams, I'm not sure if he's going to play or not. I would lean towards no on that, but we'll see. I don't think he's going to play. I think that's kind of a longer term thing with his concussion. I think he's in concussion protocol. They're trying to get back Khalil Keith. They've got bumps and nicks and bruises all over the place. If they can get back Khalil Keith on the offensive line, that really helps things. But, injuries are not the story of this team right now. I think it's more experience.
Right.
It's more doing it.
Yeah. And obviously, the big thing about Baylor in the offseason was the announcement of Blake Shapen replacing Gary Bohannon at quarterback. When you look at Shapen's numbers here, I mean, he's putting up pretty decent numbers, in my opinion. He's 97 out of 140, 1,118 yards, 69.3% completions, 9 touchdowns, 3 picks, been sacked 10 times, 153.3 rating. In my opinion, as somebody from the outside looking in, he's playing the position well enough to win football games. So what is it about that Baylor offense that has been their Achilles heel, so to speak?
2 things. They don't have a thumper in the running game. They've got a bunch of track stars, which is fun. It's great. But they're missing – well, Tay McWilliams was supposed to be that guy, but they're missing Abram Smith from last year, a guy who can kind of do a little bit of both, where he can run you over and then go for 50. They're missing that a lot.
Right.
And their skill positions, every fan base has a little area of denial on how things are going to work out that they'll do. Oklahoma's was everything's going to be fine. 42 new players and a whole new coaching staff. Like, look, we're Oklahoma. Everything's going to be fine. It's not.
Right.
Obviously.
Yes.
And then with Baylor, the one blind spot they have, and it goes back because they assume they always have good wide receivers going back to Bryles. The one blind spot they had for this team was none of these skill guys had really played all that much, or they fight back from injuries. And, you've got wide receivers that are talented, that are good. Monterey Baldwin's good. He's been the kind of the bright spot, but he didn't have a great game against Iowa State and has missed a little bit of time. But they played 3 wide receivers last year. 3. Okay? They played Tyquan Thornton, who was excellent. They played Drew Estrada, and they played R.J. Sneed, who transferred to Colorado. All these other guys were on the roster, Coos. So why weren't they playing?
Yeah.
Because they weren't ready.
Right.
So you go from not playing at all and not being even really that integrated into the offense to, all right, guess what?
You're the guy.
You're the guys now. So there is a learning curve that takes longer than fans want to wrap their arms around and realize. It takes time. They're good. Monterey Baldwin's good. Hal Presley's good. Seth Jones is showing me something. But they have a couple guys on their roster on that position that they might have missed on that aren't really contributing. So then that hurts that depth as well, because if any of those guys get hurt, then you're in a situation where you're like, I don't know what's going on. Actually, the guy I'm longest term bullish on is a guy named is Josh Cameron, who's a walk-on. Now, he hasn't played a whole lot this year, but from walk-on true freshman to walk-on, like the third or fourth wide receiver on this team, if he continues that next step, then a year from now he'll be really good. But they've all got to do it, and they haven't done it yet. The running backs can't thump. They're speed guys. That's the biggest thing. And the offensive line is, I would say, 10% worse right now than it was last year. And maybe not even that much, but just a little bit off right now. And that's kind of changed their dominance.
Well, and I could be wrong, but I was thinking, aren't most of these offensive linemen returning starters from last year, or am I wrong on that?
All but one. And because Xavier Newman-Johnson's gone. It's just taken a minute.
Yeah.
It's just taken a minute. And, new quarterback, Blake Shapen's better than Gary Bohannon is. He's better. Like I'm going to end that debate right now. He's better.
Right.
It was a better decision. It was the right decision. He's better. It's just all got to gel together, and that, I think, sometimes takes time.
Yeah. And what about on the defensive side of the ball for the Bears? What are they looking like so far? I mean, obviously the talk going into the season was their defensive front. With Siaki Ika. Did I say that right?
Yeah.
Ika.
Apu. Just call him Apu. Apu Ika. Apu's been very good. TJ Franklin's been good. Jackson Player's been good. I don't know if anybody's been great yet along that defense defensive front. They have the potential to be. Gabe Hall. I mean, they've got depth there. They didn't touch Spencer Sanders. They didn't touch him. And that was an area of concern. Now, look, Spencer Sanders is pretty damn good.
He is. He's good.
Let's not get it twisted.
Yeah.
But they still should have gotten back there. You know, like
Right.
They need to start doing that. They need to start creating the turnovers they were creating a year ago. They're not. The secondary is really young, so that doesn't help the front when they make a mistake and can't get back there. The secondary is young, so there's a lot of, intersecting parts there.
Yeah. And by the way, for anybody who might be listening to this on a podcast platform, audio only, this game is Baylor at West Virginia in Morgantown Thursday night, October 13th at 7 p.m. Eastern Time, and will air on FS1, which I think is unfortunate. I'm not sure why they put this game on FS1 and not ESPN or a primary network, but it is what it is. So I'm encouraging all Baylor and West Virginia fans, all Big 12 fans for that matter, tune into this game and help get these TV ratings up so that we can stop hearing the fodder about how bad our TV ratings are and all that other garbage.
Look, Coos, it is garbage. Here's the thing. What's your favorite soda pop?
Mine?
Are you
probably cherry Coke, I guess. If I had to pick
cherry
one.
Coke. You like cherry Coke because you've actually drank it, right?
Yes.
Okay. Not because Coke told you it was good, right?
Right.
Okay. We need to start as college football fans and the viewing public watching and thinking for ourselves and looking at the real story. So what the SEC, and they have more skins on the wall, so they're almost right about this, more than the Big Ten is. But what the SEC and Big Ten figured out is we Americans will do what we're told in a surprisingly non-resistant fashion when it seems like the path of least resistance.
Yeah.
We will, it's essentially we've dropped the remote on the ground and we're like, well, I guess I'm on channel 25 now. Like, that's it. The numbers prove it out. And we've said this on our show a lot. People don't really care what conference your game is as long as it's good. And so if you look at the games that get the best ratings, the SEC has big ratings because they have mostly good games and they're on CBS or ESPN or ABC.
Right.
So, and almost now you're going to be on ABC and ESPN in a year or so when that goes exclusive, but they have good network spots. Why does Notre Dame get good ratings? They're not always good, but they're on NBC alone. They're on a network. It still matters. Over-the-air networks matter.
Absolutely.
So those things all do it. So if you look at the numbers, Texas Tech and Oklahoma State was on ABC the other day, right? I bet you it did pretty dang good.
Yep.
I bet you it did good. It was a good game.
Mm-hmm.
People will tune in to watch good stuff. It does not matter who it is as long as it's good. The Big Ten has managed to be like, well, that's us for sure, when really the Big Ten has less good games than any of the Power 5 conferences right now because they have, there are the separation, and especially the separation from Ohio State and their good teams is so cavernous. So hopefully Michigan gets better and Penn State and all that. But Michigan and Penn State play this week. That might be a good game. But Ohio State and Michigan State wasn't a good game. It was terrible.
Right.
Ohio State put them in a wood chipper. So is that a good brand to do that? No. They just have a lot of alums so they can sell that. But the Big 12, the Pac-12, and the ACC are all really good leagues, especially this year. If you look around, there's sections of each league. The Big 12 especially really punching up on each other. The Pac-12 is going to do that as well. You saw Utah and UCLA. Washington's, there's some separation maybe happening there, but there's still really good teams, and there's still some losses going to happen there. The ACC is really good, especially on one side of the conference. The Big 12 is – who's the worst team in the Big 12? Is it Oklahoma the worst team in the Big 12? What happens when Dylan Gabriel comes back? They won't be the worst team anymore. There's some equalizing going on here. So, they might want to be an 0-4 because they got to play Kansas this week. But, Kansas is good. There's myths all over college football that I'm glad you're giving me the platform to continue to try and dispel.
Yes.
It's all good. The SEC is really good because they got to jump on everybody. But there could be some balancing out in the future.
Yeah, and to tag on to Paul's point, if we see a ratings number come out on Monday or on Friday or whenever they put them out for this game, and you see that it has lower ratings than the game that's on ESPN, which, oh, by the way, is a group of 5 game, it's probably because it's on ESPN, okay? A lot of people may not flip over to FS1 to look for this game because they may not know what's on.
Yeah.
Right? To Paul's point, whoever's going to get that best time slot will likely get the best, or not the time slot, but the best network is probably going to get the best numbers.
Yeah. So,
So I'm telling everybody, tune into this game. If everybody watching this, tune into this game, help get those ratings up so that we can squash all this BS. But anyway, let's get back to the on-the-field stuff. I mentioned injuries earlier. Obviously, you probably already know this, but our freshman star running back C.J. Donaldson is going to be out for this game because of the concussion he endured in the Texas game that I'm sure you probably saw it. It was terrible. He laid on the field motionless for a long time. So we're just all happy that he's okay, number one. But he will be out for this game. So I'm a little concerned from a West Virginia perspective on how our running game may look in this game because he's kind of been our number one guy so far. Now, Justin Johnson has showed some flashes of being really good. Tony Mathis has shown some flashes. But CJ's so far been the most consistent one out of the group. So my number one concern as a West Virginia fan, other than on the offensive side, that is can our running game continue forward like it did in previous games before Texas, obviously, but in the earlier games this year without Donaldson.
Yeah, that's good. That's going to be curious to see. And Baylor's pretty good at stopping the run. I think that I think this is going to be a game where if they win, it's going to be JT Daniels and Bryce Ford Wheaton and guys like that making some plays for the Mountaineers. But it'll be interesting. I think that's a big question, and I'm really bummed about that because I was really excited, to see a converted tight end that was about to wreak havoc on everybody really go in the league. And I know it's 4 to 6 weeks, and maybe longer. I mean, it was a really, there's no such thing as a good concussion, but it was particularly bad, and he's going to have to be out for a little bit. But I'm hate that we're not going to see him on Thursday night. But I think the game is going to be won in, whose secondary is better. And I know West Virginia has struggled a lot. Baylor's is very inexperienced, but that's going to be where the things go. And can West Virginia grab some momentum being at home on a Thursday night?
Yeah, that's going to be critical because I'm hoping our fans, our fans are not we're not in a great place right now because of where we are in year 4 of Neil Brown. So I'm hoping the fans will show up and show out in this game like we have done in the past. I'm a little concerned that the crowd won't be the way as big as it should be, but I'm sure those that are there will be loud because that's just what we're known for.
Well, look, let me tell you something, Coos. To those fans who are worried about it, I don't think things are quite as bleak as you think that they are. Nobody knew about Kansas. Nobody knew. Look, you lost to Pitt, you lost to Kansas. All right. Yeah. Texas, I refuse to say what everybody else wants to say. There will be some ups and downs with that, but they're good. Let's not get it twisted. They're good.
Yeah.
They're good, and they're getting better, and they're where they should be. They really are. They're trying to get they're taking those methodical steps. Everybody wanted Texas to go from being really crappy to being 2005.
Right.
That's not how things work. There's a process. Let them go through that. So it's not as bleak. The hard, and then again, you got Baylor here. The hardest part of your schedule will more than likely be over on Friday morning. It's not going to get easy because the conference is tough, but the kind of clumped up, dear God. And again, nobody knew about Kansas. No one knew. If anybody says oh yeah, I saw it, you didn't see it. No one knew. Lance Leipold was, just sitting back there waiting and just whoosh, got everybody. Yeah. And so it'll be fine. The other thing is, what else do you have to do in Morgantown on a Thursday night when there's a game going on? What else do you have to do?
Exactly.
Is there something better? Is Garth Brooks playing somewhere in town? What are you doing? look, I know you're probably a bunch of Steelers fans there. They suck. So don't even worry about like getting together and trying to figure them out. Just go out to the game. And that I always hate that excuse. Unless your team is abysmal, then
Right.
the only way that you can kind of control what their decisions are is to say, "Stop doing this to us, and we won't come back."
Well, I look at it this way. I mean, I'm planning to be there. But and I know there's a lot of people who probably can't be because of work and whatnot. But if you can
Yeah,
be there, you need to be there. But I look at it this way: even if you're mad at the coaching staff or whatever, you're there to support the players primarily anyway. So go support the players, man. Go cheer them on, support them because that's who at the end of the day is wearing the jersey is the
yeah.
players.
So my father used to tell me, "The worst day fishing is better than the best day at work."
Right.
It's the same way at college football.
Yep.
The worst day, the worst game you've ever been to is way better than most of the other things you're going to do.
Right. That's a very good
Way
point.
better. Is
Great
the weather
point,
going to
Paul.
be good? It's going to be good, right? There's not like
I think so. Yeah, I think it's supposed to rain early in the day, but I think by game time it's supposed to clear up and be around 50 degrees. So it's not unbearable.
yeah, you guys are used to that. 50 degrees here,
Yeah.
we start getting scared, but you guys are used to that.
Yeah.
Go have a good time. Look, when can you drink moonshine in the middle of the week? Not often.
Exactly. There you go.
Go do it.
Grab a
Like,
pepperoni roll and drink some moonshine and come to Morgantown, baby.
exactly.
Paul, real quick before I let you out of here, I want to get your thoughts. Do you care to give a score? Are you okay to give a score prediction?
Yeah. I'm going to say 31-19 Baylor.
Okay.
I think Baylor is the better team. I think that you give Dave Aranda and staff some time to work on a team like West Virginia that's still trying to find itself
Right.
and more trying to find itself than this Baylor team is. I think they're going to pull that off and finally get that first dub in Morgantown. But I am not confident. Like, don't go running to your sports book and say 31-19
Yeah.
Baylor's going to cover. Don't take my advice on that because Morgantown's a great equalizer. If people hear this and go, you know what? Gosh darn it, me and my buddies are going to go to that game. Apoplexy about Neil Brown be damned. We'll go.
Yeah.
Then it's going to get loud. Like, it is a tough place to play. No opponent, no one likes going into Morgantown. It's something that you guys have built, and you need to really keep that going. It's like in this era of I don't need to go to the game because it looks great on TV, and I get it. I get it. I really do. But if you are there, you can absolutely like just enjoy it, support your university, support the players, just go have fun. Go like I go see like look. Aside from the good players on West Virginia, they're going to see they're going to be in the NFL one day. Apu Ika is going to be in the NFL here next year. He's going to be really good. Jackson Player is going to be an NFL player. Dylan Doyle, an NFL player. There's going to be some NFL guys you're going to see. So you can say, hey, I saw them in Morgantown on a Thursday night. Like, just live for the experience. Look, I went Baylor when Kevin Durant played his 1 year at Texas. I'm not even a Baylor grad. I'm not a Baylor fan. But I went. I made sure somebody else covered my shift at the radio station so I could go see Kevin Durant, a guy I now objectively am annoyed by.
Right.
But I went to go see him play because when else am I going to get to see that play? When I was a kid, I went to see Michael Jordan play baseball. Why? It wasn't, he wasn't good at it necessarily, but when else are you going to have those experiences?
Right.
Like, you got to, life is about experiences, not, sitting around. So, and look, I love sitting around. Look, you see this right here? My whole house is a shrine to sitting around. But take your opportunities not to sit around.
Right. Hear that, Morgan? Hear that, Mountaineer Nation? Go to the game. But my score prediction, I'll get into that real quick, and then I know you've got things to do. But I'm with you. I do, and I know my Mountaineer Nation may get mad at me for this, but I'm looking at this. I'm trying to take the blinders off here. I do think Baylor's a better team, and West Virginia just has not so far been able to get over that hump and win. I think it'll be a close game. And West Virginia just so far has not been able to get over the hump and win a lot of close games, especially against teams that are talented like Baylor is. And I think at the end of the day, that's going to come back to bite West Virginia. And I think Baylor wins by a touchdown, 31-24. That's my prediction.
Look, I think I think you and I are thinking the same thing. I think that that's going to be a close game, 1-2 scores, and not like a two. Like I don't think this is going to be a 2-score game that would a 3-score game, but some like West Virginia scores late. Like if it's 2 scores, I think it's less than 2 touchdowns, and I think that Baylor is maybe comfortable at the end of the game, but not
Right.
let's take our shoulder pads off and laugh around and play grab ass on the sidelines.
I think it'll come down to probably a special teams mistake, maybe a turnover, something like that may end up pushing the game to Baylor's side, because West Virginia has that's been our Achilles heel, man. They just make mistakes at the worst possible times, whether it be a dumb penalty, whether it be a drop, whether it be a turnover, muff punt, whatever. They just seem to always make those mistakes at the most critical times in games, and that's what has us all so frustrated, because we've got talent. They just can't seem to put it together. Whatever reason. So.
Yeah, absolutely. No, but I think that there's talent, and that's why I think that the powers that be will give Neil Brown time to figure this out this year, and if he can finish out stronger than he started, then he'll be there. But things are tenuous in college football right now. Right. Matt Rhule just got let go by the Panthers today.
Yeah.
I would venture to guess that he has a college job in the next few weeks,
if
not rapidly before.
I would almost
guarantee. Do think if I was Trev Alberts, I would not let him go anywhere else. I'd give him as much I'm sure his agent Trace Armstrong's already calling people. So as soon as Trace Armstrong called me, I'd be like, yeah, let's get him in here. Let's fly him to Lincoln. Let's bathe him in corn. Let's do whatever we need to do and get him here. So
that I think I could see that happening. Obviously, as a West Virginia fan, if Neil Brown gets fired, we would love to have Rhule here, but I just don't see it happening. I don't see it being feasible. I just don't think. Not to bash my own, I'm not brashing us here, but I just don't think we're a prestigious enough program to land a guy like Matt Rhule. That's my opinion. Maybe I'm wrong, but
and I'm not trying to knock Baylor here or pump up like anything. Baylor was his jump to the level of here. Mm-hmm. He would have to fail at a bigger school than Baylor to come down to, because Baylor and West Virginia are kind of the same, right?
Yeah,
we're kind of like, you look at them, they're kind of like right here on this level.
I would agree with that.
They're not marquee blue blood programs,
right?
Yeah, they could be one day, but right now they're in the good program. Nebraska, as bad as they've been, is a marquee program, absolutely marquee program, and that is the most marquee job that's open today. No offense to Arizona State, Georgia Tech, and all that.
Right.
But that one is that's a perfect job for him based on his skill set. So I would think that's where he would wind up. Now, who knows, what happens in the future. I do think that this is his potential Pete Carroll moment where, look, Pete Carroll was with the Jets and the Patriots as a head coach. Mm-hmm. And he had a better stretch with both those teams than did Matt Rhule with the Panthers. But when he went to USC and figured it out and then went on, I think Matt Rhule will be a very successful coach wherever he lands in college. And then I think he probably will be one day a successful coach in the NFL again, a la Pete Carroll. He's too smart not to. He just has to learn from his mistakes. And they just couldn't get it done, offensive coordinator and quarterback, and not in that order, quarterback and offensive coordinator. And that will eat you up in the NFL.
Absolutely.
And especially when you're in division with Tom Brady.
Yes.
That's too, and Drew Brees for the first part of it. So, you have all of that going on. I think that Matt will be just fine. He's still going to be owed $40 million. When I lost my job at the radio station here before I went to Sic'Em, I got put on unemployment and I made like $4,000.
Yeah.
So, I think he's going to be fine.
Yeah, he'll be fine. But I'm sure the competitive spirit in him wants to get back into it and coach again. I would think.
Yeah, absolutely.
But if he doesn't, you know what? He could probably take a year off and be just fine, right?
Yeah. He can take a year off and do whatever he wants.
Yeah, go work as a broadcaster and analyst one day a week and hang out at the house the rest of the week, whatever. But
yeah. If he doesn't charge us too much, we'll put him on Sic'Em. I mean, we've had him a bunch of times, but
yeah.
I'm
I'm sure you guys probably know him pretty well from his days at Baylor.
Oh, yeah, really well. I look, and I love Matt Rhule. I think he's a great guy. I love there's coaches on his staff that are going to be looking for work, obviously, because that happens. Phil Snow, Jeff Nixon, guys like that. Love those guys. I think they're great coaches, and they're going to be great coaches somewhere else. It just sometimes things don't work out. And I'll tell you this, to anybody who's ever been fired in the world, being fired sucks. It's awful. I don't know if it's ever happened to you, Coos. It sucks. Even in jobs you don't like, it sucks to be fired.
Mm-hmm.
But it's not a bad thing if you treat it the right way. It just means that this wasn't the thing. The next thing is the thing.
And you learn, right. And like you said, you learn from it and use that
from it.
Use what you learn from this job in the next job.
Yeah. So, it's never like I've not been fired many times in my life or downsized or whatever, but it's just about the next thing. Like, how do you do it? And so Matt Rhule's a guy who he'll do well at the next thing and the next thing after that, and he'll learn. He's not set in his way. So I'm a big Matt Rhule proponent, as you can tell, and I'm not being a homer or anything. I just know that the guy was always good to me.
Yeah.
And so I hope the best for him, and I hope that if he does get the Nebraska job, that Smokey only calls him 12 to 15 times a week. So
yeah, that's a good point.
Yeah.
All right. Well, that being said, guys,
he may not take that job just because of that. Like, look, I would love it, but I can't.
I can't. Smokey will. I can't take it because Smokey will drive me crazy, and I can't deal with Smokey.
Yeah.
Smokey, if you're watching this, we love you, man.
Yeah.
But no, I'm sure Smokey's. I'm sure it's been tough being a Nebraska fan these last several years, man. I can't imagine.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, Coos, thanks for being on. Look, I'll come on anytime.
Yes, sir. I appreciate you having me. Everybody go. I'll leave I'm sure most of you already know, but I'll leave this link anyway to 365 Sports YouTube channel. Go check it out. If you haven't subscribed to the channel, subscribe to it. Check Paul out on Twitter. Interact with him there at Paul Catalina. With that being said, Paul, I appreciate you hopping on. And until the next show, guys, Q Country Roads.